So thank you, Weronika Jurkiewicz. Thank you to be here with us now for this early morning interview. You can see this from our faces. And your film, The Vibrant Village, is selected for the international competition. And with this interview, I would like to meet you and to know something about you, just to present to our audience. So if you want to present yourself and which kind of schools and experience you did before to arrive to this film.
Sure. So hello, Lago Film Festival. Thank you so much for selecting my film. I did the Erasmus Mundus Joint Masters, the Doc Nomads program. So it's a European master's program between the three universities, one in Lisbon, one in Budapest, and one in Brussels. So it's a lot of traveling and a very international experience. And this film that I'm presenting at the festival, I did as part of my Budapest semester. So yeah, it was the second semester film. It was actually an exercise that I did for school. So I'm super happy that the film managed to have a really nice festival run.
Cool, we're really happy. So, so this is your first film, right?
Yes.
Cool, great. And how did you meet this story and this small village? Somehow, I don't know, I had this sensation and somehow was a bit similar to Lago, you know, that in Lago there is a bar, two bars, and many people going to the bars. And a place where you can go to buy the grocery, the butcher, and then the bakery, and then it's finished. So somehow it's so tiny, so small, but there's something special, let's say, or something, I don't know how to say it, that it's coming out, that it's, I don't know, I had this sensation that somehow I saw this place.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm really glad, because I suppose that's part of the film and what we managed to achieve. This story came about, actually was an exercise called Beyond Observation. So the film had to be with no dialogue and just observational scenes. And how I came about the story, it was actually a couple of years prior. I read an article in a Polish paper about a factory that used to be a leading leather manufacturer, but then the crisis happened, and then they rebranded themselves into a BDSM wear company. So for me, the image stuck with me for so many years, like where you have to be the owner of a company, where you have employees working for you for years or decades, and then one day you have to go to them and tell them, well, starting today, we're going to do something different. And I knew that that was also a factory that was in a tiny little village in Poland. And of course, they're talking about sex and sexuality are very often taboo topics. So especially in this context, having something like this was super intriguing to me, and also quite humorous. So then when I knew that I had to do a film that relied heavily on just observation, I was trying to look for something quite similar in Hungary, and I managed to stumble upon this little factory, which was quite fortunate.
Wow, really great. Talking about moments of crisis, then when you have to point out creativity, I think also this is a moment like this. Even if I think that, of course, there are some moments when the crisis is bigger or global, like the one we're just living. So I think that many factories had to try to find out new solutions and new strategies in order to survive. But in our field, it's something normal that we have to face every year, every time we want to do a project, we want to invite guests to be here with us. So yeah, so it's really fantastic this. And which kind of stories did you meet there? Did you meet these people? I don't know, there are, of course, I think that there are other stories beyond this observation presentation.
Yeah. So actually, the problem was that neither me or my DOP spoke Hungarian, and as you may know, Hungarian is not similar to any other language, so my knowledge of Polish completely did not help. So actually how we came to get access to this factory is a story in and of itself. And then also us getting to this village and then trying to, so we met every single person before we managed to get access to the factory. We started with like the mayor of this village. We started in his office. Then we met two young guys who helped us kind of move around and introduce. And they wanted to introduce us to every single other person than the people in the factory, because everybody there was like, no, it's not important, or it's not interesting. No, you should do this field, or you should do this local artist, or you should do this person. Or like, oh yeah, we have another one we can introduce you to. So we do an entire tour of the village, of important people in the village, or like who those people viewed as more documentary worthy. But we're trying to each time say, okay, we would love to meet that person, but how about we also come back to the factory? So then the problem was that we couldn't really communicate with the people in the village. So it was a lot of gestures and a lot of smiles and a lot of this non-verbal communication. But unfortunately, I don't know the in-depth stories of those people. But we even went through the point where like the mayor did a palinka, which is a strong Hungarian liquor, around, or like he brought us to his own like personal little stash of palinka. So I mean, it was a lot of adventures around. But yeah, the getting to properly know the people was really challenging, unfortunately. So maybe one day we'll be able to come back and with a translator and have a proper conversation.
But also with the translator, I think that palinka is going to help always. We pass to enter in the factories or all the houses or bars of the place. Really amazing. So and now what are you working on? Now are you doing another piece of the school, or you're just working on a new project?
So I actually graduated last June, but I'm still finishing some projects that I started. I'm working on a short documentary about Polish remigrants, so people who came back or coming back to Poland after years spent abroad, which is my case as well. So this is something that's the narrative of the Polish people abroad and creating their homes in the UK or Ireland or other parts of the EU is already quite well known, but now it's the second wave of them coming back, which is something not very much explored yet. And it also is linked with like reverse culture shock and those psychological experiences. So that's something I want to explore in my film.
Cool. So, but it's your own experience. So you left your home, or your family left, or someone of your family?
Well, the film is going to be more interview based with people from all over Poland. So I'm not going to be in a film per se, but my story is very much linked to it. So I left Poland when I was 17, and then I've been traveling kind of ever since, and me coming back to Poland is a very recent and kind of coronavirus induced experience. So yeah, it's quite personal, the topic.
And how was the coming back?
It's a difficult question. I mean, there are a lot of good opportunities in Poland, and the experience, Warsaw, so the city has changed tremendously over the past 10 years. It's a completely different place in a way. But then at the same time, I mean, I lived in Hong Kong, I lived in New York, I lived in Budapest, Lisbon, Brussels. So this adrenaline and this adventure side is maybe a bit unsatisfied here, but also, I mean, it's a transition period, and obviously given how coronavirus has affected everything, it is also a bit of a different city now that it would have been had the situation been different. So, but I managed finally to get some rest and slow down a bit, so that's a good outcome of everything.
Great. Okay, so thank you very much. I was really happy to meet you and to talk a bit with you. I hope there's going to be a moment in the next future, not too far away from now, that we can meet and talk and have a palinka maybe together.
Perfect. Looking forward to that.
Okay, thank you very much and hope to be able to host you here soon. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.